আর সংগ্রাম সবকিছু ফেলে দিয়ে সামনে নিয়ে আসতে পারে। তো আমি তাই করেছি, আমি একা চলবো। তো আমি একা চলতে চলতে এখন আমি ভালোই আছি। আমি আমার সন্তানকে নিয়ে অনেক ভালো আছি। আমি আমার সন্তানকে অনেক বড় করতে চাই, মানুষের মতো মানুষ করতে চাই। চাই যে বাংলাদেশের মেয়েদের জন্য যে কোনো কাজ করতেই সব সময় একটা বাধা তৈরি হয়। তো সেই বাধা বিঘ্ন সবকিছু পার করে আমি একজন জয়ী মেকআপ আর্টিস্ট। আর সেই সাহসটা আমাকে সামনে নিয়ে আসছে। আর সেই সাহস যদি আমার না থাকতো, তাহলে বাংলাদেশের এই প্রেক্ষাপটে আমি একটা মেকআপ আর্টিস্ট হতে পারতাম না। এটা সব পুরুষদের উদ্দেশ্যেই বলা, যে সবাই, সব পুরুষরাই মানবিক হোক। অত্যাচার, অবিচার এগুলা যাতে আর না হয়, আর না দেখি।
Mimi jina langu Rehema Ali, natoka Mombasa, Kenya. Nimetahiriwa nilipokuwa mdogo, lakini sikujua miaka mingapi, nilikuwa mdogo kabisa. Sikufahamu kutahiriwa mpaka nilipomsikia mama yangu akizungumza na wanawake wengine kuelezea kama mimi nimetahiriwa. Na nilipojua nikaona ni kawaida kwa sababu wasichana wote wanatahiriwa. Baadaye nilipo kuja kuzaa katika hospitali, nikapata shida kuzaa mtoto, nikamwambia kwa sababu ya hiyo kutahiriwa. Na sikujua kama italeta shida. Ndio mpaka hivi sasa ndio naelewa kama sio uzuri kutahiriwa, mwanamke kutahiriwa.
Ukipata mtoto wako utamtahiri?
Nikipata mtoto wangu siwezi kumtahiri kwa sababu sio uzuri kutahiriwa, na kwa sababu ya hiyo shida kama kuzaa na shida nyingine. Na sioni haja ya msichana kutahiriwa kwa sababu hakuna kitu ambapo ni kubwa ya kutahiriwa kama kusema ni wavulana, kufananisha msichana ama na mvulana.
Asante. Na banako anajua hii mambo?
Hajui mambo. Na sikupenda, nilipojua habari ya hiyo, sikupenda kumuongelesha kwa sababu ya hiyo. Kwa sababu ninaona si sawa kujua habari ya hiyo na watu kuendelea kufanya kitu kama hivyo.
Na sasa professionals wakikuongelesha juu ya hii, unasikiaje? Unasikia vibaya kuongea juu ya hii mambo?
Ndio, nasikia vibaya kwa sababu sioni faida ya kutahiriwa mwanamke ikiwa itakuwa kuna shida baadaye. Na ni kwa sababu si kutaka mimi kama kutahiriwa, maanake ni mtu apatiwe ruhusa ikiwa unataka kutahiriwa au hutaki, ikiwa italeta shida baadaye.
Na sasa kabla utoke kwenyu Kenya, ulijua hii mambo?
Sikujua mpaka nilipofika hapa nikajua kama sio uzuri kutahiriwa. Na nikasoma habari nyingine nikaelewa kama haya mambo si mazuri kufanywa msichana.
Hi, I'm Natasha. I'm from Cardiff. I'm also profoundly deaf. I left my perpetrator a number of years ago now, but he certainly used my deafness, my disability, as a way to get control over me and to be able to isolate me very quickly from other people. I wish that I had been able to spot the warning signs a lot sooner than I did, because they were definitely there. Very quickly he was quite possessive, quite controlling, wanting to spend all of his time with me, being jealous of me spending time with anybody else. and it escalated from that into physical violence, financial abuse, and to the point where I just knew that I couldn't trust him not to harm me. But the problem was he made me believe that I was responsible for his behaviour, that it was things that I did that caused him to lose control, that he loved me so much and he was so upset by the terrible things that I did. So I ended up in this trap of just constantly trying to please him, constantly trying to make things better, trying to be a better person for him. And it took me a long time to realise that that was never going to work. But my confidence had been shattered, my self-esteem had gone, and he made me so dependent on him that I didn't believe that it was possible for me to function without him. So the idea of leaving him, there was no future. What would I do? But eventually I reached a point where I just knew that I was going to end up dead if I didn't leave him very soon. And it was very hard to actually leave. It was hard to make that decision that I had to go. And it was hard to find the opportunity to leave. But eventually I realised that I'd been left alone by myself for a few hours for the first time in months. And that was my window of opportunity. I had to take that. I had to go. So I just threw some stuff in the car and drove to a family member where it was safe. And from there, I went to Cardiff Women's Aid, who gave me amazing support. I spent 10 months in refuge, living alongside other women with, very similar stories to mine. I realised that I wasn't alone, and I began to understand exactly how he'd been able to get control of me and manipulate me, and the things that I needed to do to get control of my life back. And I've had amazing support from friends, from family, from Women's Aid, from random strangers, acts of kindness that have really kind of lifted me up and given me the strength to carry on when I thought that there was nothing to go to. And I've rebuilt my life. I'm happy. I've got my career back on track. I've got an amazing network of friends around me. And so my message to any woman who is in an abusive relationship is that you are worth more and you can do it. You can leave if that's the right thing for you to do. And you will find support out there, and you will find the strength within yourself to rebuild your life just the way that I have done. So solidarity to all women out there, no matter what situation you're in. And remember to believe in yourself. Together, we can achieve anything that we want to.
أنا شيماء من الكويت. تعرضت وأنا صغيرة في الكويت هناك. تزوجت رجال أكبر من عندي ب20 سنة، لأن كان فيه عمي ضرب أخو زوجي، وعقبها فحنا عندنا هناك عادات وتقاليد، لازم يدفعون فدية لأهل المقتول. فعمي خذوه للسجن في الكويت هناك الحكومة، وطالبوا، فكنت أنا الكبيرة، فقالوا لازم حريم 2 وفلوس. زين أبوي قدر يلا إنه يفرق أختي الأصغر من عندي بفلوس، وصرت أنا الضحية. وبعدين عمي طلع حسن سير وسلوك من السجن، وأنا اللي تبهدلت. يعني كان زوجي دوم ضرب ومتزوج وعنده عيال كثيرة، عنده 6 بنات وشبابات 3. فكان الضرب كله علي أنا، كان مثل الجارية، يعني ضرب. وكذا مرة أحمل، كان كثر الضرب اللي يضربني إياه على الظهر سببت كله بسقاط. يعني راحوا لي 7، وكان دوم يعني أطبخ وأنظف وأغسل وأسوي كل شيء مثل الخدام، كله ضرب. يعني هو وعياله وزوجته يلا بس الضرب. وإحنا عندنا هناك بعد خلاص إن مزاج أنتي تزوجتي وخلاص ما له حق إن حتى أهلك يجونك، لأن أنتي رايحة خلاص كأنها معدومة، أنتي عليك إعدام. يعني لا لك حق إن أهلك يشوفونك، ولا تقدرين تروحين لأهلك، ولا حتى تقدرين تروحين إنك تشتكين. يعني على حس عادات والتقاليد اللي عندنا شغلة ما حد يقدر يستحملها. وظليت أتعذب طول الفترة، يعني من سنة يعني تزوج، يعني خذينا من أنا صغيرة، من كان عمري حوالي كذي 15. وعقبها صارت مشاكل وايد، وعياله قاموا ضرب وقاموا يسوون مشاكل حتى مع الدولة، وانسجن ولده. وعقبها قام صار التهديد علي أنا، ولده اتهمني أنا. عقبها طلعنا وجينا الدول كلها، وآخر شيء وصلنا لألمانيا، وقام هم يضرب وكذي. وهذه وساعدتني وحدة، وساعدوني هم دكاترة يعني بحالتي. عقبها لما صرت زينة قدرت إني أنحاش وأجي لندن. بس أشوى الحمد لله لما وصلت هني، يعني لقيت ناس وايد ساعدتني ووقفوا معاي.
My name is Charlotte and I live in Cameroon. I'd like to share my experience in domestic violence. I and my husband had good jobs, but he became very jealous and started asking me to leave work early or even before closing hours to arrive home on time and make his meals. He claimed cleaning, cooking, washing, and taking care of the kids is the sole responsibility of a woman. So whenever I delayed, he would slap me and hit me, and sometimes in the presence of other people, he would beat me up. And when these issues became very overwhelming, I started missing deadlines at work, and I had to lose my job. He controlled virtually everything, all major decisions, my movements, phone calls, and would not allow me to have friends. I lived a very difficult life, a life of isolation. He would cut down on all financial expenses, and I was so affected and afraid, especially when I was alone with him at home, and I couldn't talk to anyone about it because of the stigma in our society. So I lost my self-esteem, I lost my confidence, and I lost a lot of weight because I wasn't eating at all. So I could barely eat. And this whole issue went for a very long time until I finally met someone and got the needed support.
Surviving gender-based violence is never an easy task. My name is Nicole Cole, and I am a survivor of intimate partner violence. My case, if you look carefully at my lip, it will show that I have a little bump. I suffered a hit so hard that was intended to snuff my life out that I had to get 13 sutures. So right here to the top of my lip is where would have been a scar left by such a traumatic event. There are many scars that survivors face, and one of the more important scars that we grapple with is the fact that we need the necessary resources so that we can be able to continue to thrive after the traumatic event. What makes women want to remain in such a horrible situation, such as intimate partner violence, is because the systems outside of the home is lacking. As a state, Guyana have many laws. One such law is the CEDAW Convention, the Convention on the Elimination of Violence Against, the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. And one of the more pervasive forms of discrimination against women is violence against women. And this is why on November 25th, the entire world celebrates or observes what is called the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls. This year's theme, Generation Equality, Fund, Prevent, respond and collect is speaking directly to 4 important aspects. When we fund, we ensure that women have the necessary resources to escape. When we prevent, we invest in services that help her to escape. Halfway homes, shelters, and family centers whereby she and her children can go. And of course, when we respond in a timely manner that saves her life.
I am Fatima. I am from Oman. In Oman, they do a cut for the girls, and it's really hard. I experienced that, and I cannot never ever forget it. From my childhood, it go through for this pain, and I am really stressed and I am not happy in my life. I get too much pain, and I am suffering a lot, and I don't want another woman also to be supported.
Can you kindly tell us something about yourself and your organization and what you do on issues related to gender-based violence against women?
Yeah, my name is Kirambi,
Yes.
Executive Director of Christian Partners Development Agency, CPDA. We have been advocating for gender and the governance as one of our programs. And since 1995, when we were planning for the UN conference in Beijing, we have been really looking at the violence against women in Kenya and advocating to say no to violence against women and children. And then, with the time, it went down a bit, but it's been moving forward and backwards. The reason is economically and socially, but with the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, the violence against women and girls has increased. And this is due to loss of jobs in our society. The girls, due to closure of schools and stepping down on the economic activities, girls have given themselves to sell themselves in order to meet their needs and their families. And this is where, as an organization, we are advocating for UN women and other partners of the world, and particularly those based in Kenya, to step up to stand for women and have more sensitization and awareness creation on the pandemic and the effect it has had on the violence against women and the girls. And we are calling upon the local communities not to tire, but to say no to violence against women.
All right. Thank you.
Zero, zero, zero tolerance. Zero, zero, zero tolerance. On violence against women, zero tolerance. So stop this gender violence, zero tolerance. Don't abuse a woman. Love a woman, she needs the love and protection. Don't abuse a woman. Love a woman, she needs the love and protection. Sing it, zero, zero, zero tolerance. Zero, zero, zero tolerance. violence against women, zero tolerance. So stop this gender violence, zero tolerance. Hello, my name is Daputankata Zulu, also known as Sista D. I'm a Zambian musician and a women and children's rights activist. I condemn gender-based violence in the strongest terms possible. It is not right to perpetrate gender-based violence. It disturbs our mental health, it disturbs our children, it disturbs our families and all the people around us. I have used my music to speak against gender-based violence. Say no to gender-based violence.
Our heartiest thanks to all the contributors, and respect, gratitude, and solidarity with all the survivors. Jane Hutt, who is the Member of Senate for the Vale of Glamorgan, is also the Deputy Minister and Chief Whip in the Welsh Government. She has supported Bawso and the cause to end violence against women for many years, and we are privileged to have her here with us today as the keynote speaker. Can I please invite you, Minister, to say a few words?
Thank you very much indeed, Jasmine, and good morning to everyone. So I'm very pleased to be part of today's Light a Candle ceremony to commemorate the International Day of End Violence Against Women and White Ribbon Day. And of course, we would have been, as we were last year, and for 15 years, not just in Llandaff Cathedral, but we'd be processing. We used to process from Llamai up the road, and cars would toot and people would join us. People come out of their houses making such a statement as we were, led by Bawso and all of those who've supported this annual event. And I'd like to thank them and thank Bawso particularly for organising this virtual event, which has been so powerful. And I know that everybody who's part of this virtual event will feel the power that's coming through from all those voices we've heard. It's inspiring to see so many people coming together to raise awareness, to make a stand, and to honour all victims of violence and abuse, because this event highlights the devastating, ongoing, tragic effects of violence against women, domestic abuse and sexual violence in Wales. And I do just want to remind us of that UN data, United Nations International Day, women data for this year: 1 in 3 women and girls experience physical or sexual violence in their lifetime, most frequently by an intimate partner. 1 in 2 women killed worldwide were killed by their partners or family in 2017, while only 1 out of 20 men were killed under similar circumstances. 71% of all human trafficking victims worldwide are women and girls, and 3 out of 4 of these women, girls are sexually exploited. Violence against women is as serious a cause of death and incapacity among women of reproductive age as cancer, and a greater cause of ill health than traffic accidents and malaria combined. And the England and Wales Crime Survey reports that 1 in every 4 women suffer from domestic violence, and up to 1.3 million have been victims of violence up to the year ending 2016. And it is important that we do repeat and share those statistics, and particularly amongst those who have responsibility and are taking responsibility, like Bawso and all the organisations today. But most important, the messages for us who have power, elected representation, for me in the Welsh Government and in the Senedd, which I know on Monday, Joyce Watson, the Senedd member, and the National Federation of Women's Institutes, we had a virtual vigil which these points were made. Because we know, and we've heard today again, violence against women, what a huge impact it has on family, on friends, on children, on your whole of your life. And we want to give heartfelt thanks to all of you, the work you do, services you provide on a daily basis, to giving particularly focusing, of course, we are worldwide today, but this is about Wales and how we are supporting people in Wales, and how I can say we as a government, Welsh Government, are taking action to tackle this. And we have our groundbreaking Violence Against Women, Domestic Abuse and Sexual Violence Wales Act back 2015, implemented in 2016. 5 years on, we're focused on preventing these issues and ensuring that victims and survivors are protected and supported. And I think the point for me today is to say again that the Welsh Government, it's not just me, the whole of the Welsh Government. We were wearing the white ribbons. You'll have seen the First Minister yesterday speaking out and answering his questions, committing all of us. We're remaining committed to improving not just the quality of services and support, but also the response that we make, the stand that we take. I did announce an increase to the budget for these services back in December, but we've had to put more funding to tackle the impact of the pandemic on services and survivors. And it's important to hear from Alice in Kenya about what that has meant in that country, and that will be reflected across the world. But in Wales, over £4 million of new money has been invested in violence against women, domestic abuse and sexual violence services this year. Because throughout this pandemic, it's been harder than ever for victims to reach out for help, particularly during the lockdowns. It's so important that others, and that includes so many of us here today, are able to recognise and act on the signs of violence against women. And I'm pleased to report that over 41,000 members of the public have taken our e-learning module, and clearly more can take it on and learn about it today. We opened it to guest access in April. It is to help people identify the signs where they can take action to support. And so that is an e-learning module that we can share with you. It is so important that we learn from people who've lived through this scourge of violence against women, because it informs us, it tells us how we get policy right. And that's why we have a survivor engagement panel that enables us to learn and hear the voices of those affected by our policies and get it right when we shape future policy, forefront of our work. And so thank you to Mukta, to Shahid, Rahima, and Natasha, Shima, Charlotte, Nicole and Fatima. I mean, your voices and your stories today have been so powerful and must instill an even greater determination in us that we must address this here in Wales and across the world. Thank you for your courage, not just your courage to come before us today, but your courage throughout your lives. And we're with you, and thank you for that. And also, as I said, thank you to Alice Kirambi from Kenya, because this is about recognising that there are girls now with the closure of schools, COVID-19 impact on them. We've got to remember this, and I have responsibility for the Wales and Africa programme in the Welsh Government, as well as equalities, and I will be taking that back. Thank you to Sista D from Zambia. Zero tolerance. We will sing that together. But I think also it's important that we look to who else is backing this, the Welsh organisations who are becoming Welsh Ribbon accredited organisations. And they're important organisations here in Wales that we recognise. Dyfed Powys Police, Carmarthenshire Council, South Wales and Mid and West Fire and Rescue Services. When you see the firefighters with that white ribbon, and they are at the forefront experiencing and seeing a lot of domestic abuse and violence against women incidents. Men and boys have such a crucial role to play in stating clearly that violence against women is unacceptable. And we heard that again from men from across political parties, led by Jack Sargent on Monday at our vigil. I'd like to pay tribute to the many white ribbon ambassadors in Wales, men who take a stand to never commit, condone or remain silent about violence against women. We have a great deal of activity taking place to support this day. We've got 16 days of activism. Officials will be in our Welsh Government, civil service will be encouraging more men to sign up to the role of White Ribbon Ambassador. And also there are young White Ribbon Ambassadors across Wales, encouraging all staff to again complete that e-learning module to raise awareness of violence against women, domestic abuse and sexual violence, supporting some of our most vulnerable people in Wales. So finally, and thank you, I'm honoured to be here today, and I promise you that we will continue to work to eliminate violence and abuse within Wales. Diolch yn fawr, Jasmine, Bawso, and everyone who is here today. Let's recommit ourselves to that goal.
Thank you very much, Minister. At this point, I would like to request us all to have our placards ready, and I will count us in, and we will chant as one, "No to violence against women." Okay, I think if we can unmute everybody, and we will give that one more go, yeah? Apologies, everybody, I think we're all on mute. Can we?
No to violence against women.
No to violence against
women.
No to violence against women.
Women. No to
No to the violence against women.
Violence against women.
violence against women.
Violence
To violence
Violence
against women.
Violence against women.
Against women.
Violence against women.
Against women.
To violence against women.
To violence against
women.
Violence against women.
Violence against women. Violence against women.
To violence against women. No 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 to violence against
No to violence against women.
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 No to violence.
Thank you. We are honored to have the Bangladeshi Women's Choir, which is led by Bawso Chair, Tamina Khan. This will be followed by poetry presentation on sexual violence against women and overcoming it by a well-known poet and women's activist from Zambia, Miss Esnala Banda.
যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে তবে একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো রে তবে একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না তবে একলা চলো রে যদি কেউ কথা না কয় ওরে ওরে ও অভাগা কেউ কথা না কয় যদি সবাই থাকে মুখ ফিরায় সবাই করে ভয় যদি সবাই থাকে সবাই করে ভয় তবে পরাণ খুলে তুই মুখ ফুটে ফুটে তোর মনের কথা একলা বলো রে ও তুই মুখ ফুটে তোর মনের কথা একলা বলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে যদি সবাই ফিরে যায় ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায় যদি গহন পথে যাবার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায় যদি গহন পথে যাবার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায় তবে পথের কাঁটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলো রে ও তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে যদি আলো না ধরে ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে তবে বজ্রানলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা জ্বলো রে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা জ্বলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে
Sleeping Beauty. Every fairy tale starts with once upon a time, but this princess tale starts with once up on a man. See, this isn't one of those poetic tales told just to gain some sympathy. It's simply the truth, the untold story of beauty. As he lies there 6 feet under, he asks me, is it too late to say I'm sorry for always being horny? They say beauty is fleeting, but this beauty was sleeping until I felt his hand up on me creeping. They say dead men feel no pain. Shall I join you in the grave then? Is that what it's gonna take? I said, beauty, sleep, you be safe in your dreams, but beauty awoke and she choked on her screams. I will never forget how he grabbed on some lotion like it was some kind of magic potion. See, it didn't make the entry any easier. It just made the whole ordeal that much sleazier. And I know life is not a piece of cake on ice cream sundae, but did that make it okay for him to steal my cherry, to take my first just so he could quench his thirst? And as I lay there and watched the neighbors' fireworks, it's not surprising that I didn't feel any. He was cunning, certainly, but no linguist, so that explains why he never really talked to me much after. See, he was determined to have a lay. I was determined to make him pay. He plied me with candy and sweets for romps between the sheets. Now, I'm not calling that an income, but don't you think that was the beginning of prostitution? But I guess this 8-year-old got her retribution. See, he died cold and alone on a park bench, and in the death of a monster, I got some closure. Thank you.
Many thanks to the Bangladeshi Women's Choir Group and to Esnala Banda. As is the tradition for this day, we'll now be led by the Chancellor at Llandaff Cathedral to light our candles and then remain silent for a minute in remembrance of our sisters who have boldly walked through the scars of violence and make our stand to stamp out violence against women from our communities and our countries. That will bring us to the end of today's program. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for your participation today, especially to those who shared their experiences. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you all again next year.
So this is the candle I'm going to light now for Bawso. And as I do that, I'm inviting you all to light your own candles as well.